Referee Training Video. This video serves to assist referees during training and as refresher before any competition. The center or main referee. Now that you know what the correct scoring techniques are, and how these techniques must be done for the fighters to get a point, we will now show you how to indicate these points or warnings as a center referee. But first let's have a look at some of the rules regarding a center referee. 1. You must understand the manual draw sheets as well as the computer draw sheet system. Sometimes there are new table officials, and you may have to assist them if and when they are not sure. 2. A center referee cannot overrule 3 or more flags. There are 5 referees. 3 out of 5 must be a point given. However, you are the final verdict, and you must be 100% sure before giving any point or warning to any fighter. A center referee must always consider the perspective of all the referees as well as the arbitrator. A center referee belongs to no club or have no family or friends, while taking up the role as referee. To you they're just fighters. And to you they're just carters. And you must give credit where credit is due. Always make double sure that the competitors are standing at the correct area as indicated by the draw sheet. Make sure the correct competitor is standing at Aka or Shiru. Make sure that the table is ready before calling the competitors onto the floor. Standing with your back facing the table, Aka or red will be on your right and Shiru white will be on your left. Again, make sure the correct fighter is on your right and red, and the correct fighter is on your left and white. Call the competitors onto the floor by saying Monto no Ichi or Osaki Nadoza. Ask each competitor to indicate and show that they have the correct protective gear. A mouth guard and proper gloves is compulsory. Groin guards, chest protectors, and headgear are optional. And then remind them of the rules. If a competitor is missing something, they have 30 seconds to remedy the situation or be disqualified. If all is in place, fighters are ready, corner referees are ready, table officials are ready, and arbitrator are ready. Stand in attention and say loudly, Shobo Sanbon Hajime. Take 1 step back and to the left.
Shobo Sanbon Hajime.
TSKKIA All Styles normally use the Shobo Sanbon scoring system. There are 2 ways to score. One is by scoring a wazari. That is half a point. Or an ippon. That is a full point. A competitor can win by getting 3 ippons or 6 wazaris. Always look for an ippon. Any technique failing to be an ippon or perfect technique by just a little will then be seen as a wazari. When you see a point supported by flags going out, you must stop the fight, consider the referees and then give the point to the correct fighter. If you see flags going out supported by other flags, you must stop the fight, consider the referees and then give the point to the correct fighter. Stop the fight by stepping forward with the right leg and straightening your right arm toward the center of the 2 fighters and saying loudly, Yame. This is done so that both fighters can clearly hear and see the command to stop.
Yame.
Never physically get in between the fighters as this can end badly for you. Get the fighters back to their correct positions and then give the point or warning. Never be in a hurry to stop the fight, always give 3 seconds to see whether the techniques done was not part of a greater strategy to get an higher score. Now look back at the table and make double sure that the point or warning is indicated correctly. And for the correct fighter, restart the fight by stepping back with the left foot, arms stretched out, and by moving them together say loudly, Choose a keti. Hajime.
Choose Hajime.
Stop the fight when flags go out or when you see a point supported by flags going out. You must also stop the fight when warnings are indicated by the flags. If you are sure that the strike or kick did not land properly, did not have the characteristics of what is required to be a point, was too far away from the scoring area or was weak, you can ignore the flags by letting the fight to continue. Just be sure to indicate this to the other referees by signaling your reason in a way that they all can see, while the fight is in motion. If you did stop the fight and the strike or kick did not land properly, did not have the characteristics of what is required to be a point, was too far away from the scoring area or was weak, you must now announce Torimasen. No point. By crossing your arms in front of you and dropping them down and outward toward the fighters. Remember, always look back at the table to make sure all is well with the point and warnings given. And to make sure the table officials are up to speed. Do not continue if the table is not ready to do so. Now let's look at how the wazari, half point or ippon, full point is given and how to signal this correctly to the table officials and fighters. Wazari or ippon. For wazari, lift your right hand up to your left shoulder and then swing it out straight to the right shoulder height, if aka or red scored half a point. Lift your left hand up to your right shoulder and then swing it out straight to the left shoulder height, if shiru or white scored half a point. For ippon, this is done in the same manner, but instead of ending with the arm at shoulder height, the arm and hand is 45 degrees upward above the shoulder. Arm movements are sharp and deliberate. And the following is announced loudly. Aka. Wazari. Or ippon. Shiro, wazari. Or ippon.
Aka. Wazari. Shuru. Wazari. Aka. Ippon. Shuru. Ippon.
Hai-yu-che. If both fighters scored simultaneously, with exactly the same timing, speed, and accuracy, you must announce loudly, Hai-yu-che. Do this while placing both fists against each other in front of your chest.
Ayuch.
It is highly unlikely that this can happen, as one fighter must certainly be faster, have better focus or posture, or be closer to the center line of striking. Torimasen. If you stop the fight and there was no point or a flag to support what you have seen, or if the flags are a draw with you, you must announce loudly, Torimasen, no point. Signal this to the table and referees by crossing your arms in front of you and dropping them down and outward toward the fighters. This often happens when the center referee stops the fight too soon.
Toremasen.
Nukatsi. After the fight is done, with a fighter winning by points or, if the time ran out and one fighter has more points than the other, the referee will stop the fight and announce the winner. First, the referee will look at the score board to make double sure. The referee will then put the right hand on the left hip and then extend it 45 degrees upward to the right side, announcing loudly Aka, no Katsi if red is the winner. The same is done with the left hand if Shiru is the winner.
Aka. No Katsu. Shuru. No Katsu.
Hikiwaki. If the fight is a draw, the referee will announce this loudly by crossing the arms in front of the chest and moving the hands outward, with palms facing up, shoulder height, and saying, Hikiwaki.
Hikiwaki.
Now there will be extra 30 seconds to allow any one of the fighters to score. If it's still a draw or Hikiwaki, the flag system will decide the winner. Warnings. Now let's look at the warnings, or penalties, that can be given, and how these warnings are signaled to the fighters and table officials. TSKKIA all styles have 3 pillars or sets of warnings. Each one of these have 3 levels that indicates of each consecutive transgression. Thus, every time a fighter repeats an offense, the penalty or warning will increase in severity. The first is Jugai. Stepping out of the fighting area while the fight is in motion. If the fighter is literally pushed out of the fighting area, it's not a jugai. The center referee will stop the fight. Then by pointing with the index finger and straight arm to the side of the offender, and swinging the arm up and down, following the edge of the floor, loudly announce Aka, jugai, or Shiro, jugai, depending on which of the 2 fighters stepped out. If both fighters stepped out, both must be warned.
赤、場外、白、場外。
If a fighter steps out a second time, the warning will be Jogai Chuhi.
赤、場外、注意。白、場外、注意。
If a fighter steps out a third time, the warning will be Jogai Hansoku Chui. After the third penalty or warning for stepping out, the opponent of the fighter will be given a Wazari.
赤、場外、反則、注意。白、場外、反則、注意。
Thus, after the third Jogai, every time the fighter steps out, it will result in his opponent getting half a point. The second is Mubobi, or self-endangerment. This is when the fighter does anything that will put him or her in danger of getting injured, like dropping the arms to the sides, while too close to the opponent, or placing both hands behind the back, or agitating the opponent to where the opponent might lose composure or control. The center referee will stop the fight and loudly announce Mubobi.
赤、無防備。白、無防備。
If the fighter is warned again for endangering him or herself, it will be Mubobi Chuhi.
赤、無防備、注意。白、無防備、注意。
The third time the fighter is warned, it will be Mubobi Hansoku Chue.
赤、無防備。反則、注意。白、無防備。反則、注意。
After the third warning of Mubobi, the fighter will be disqualified from the fight by getting a Hansoku. The third is Atinai, excessive or hard contact, also given for illegal actions or techniques. The referee will stop the fight and announce loudly Atinai.
赤、当たない。白、当たない。
The second time the fighter is warned, it will be Atinai Chui.
赤、当たない。注意。白、当たない。注意。
The third time the fighter is warned, it will be Atinai Hansoku Chue.
赤、当たない。反則、注意。白、当たない。反則、注意。
After the third warning, the referee must disqualify the fighter in the context of hard or excessive contact or any illegal action. The referee do not have to go through the sequence of Atinai, Atinai Chue, and Atinai Hansoku Chue, but can jump straight to Hansoku. Disqualification. Hansoku. Disqualification.
赤、当たない。反則。白、当たない。反則。
Hansoku can also be given for bad or disrespectful behavior. Bad language. It can also be given if the spectators that support that fighter are disrespectful or disruptive. When it comes to spectators, silence is golden. Shikaku. Permanent disqualification from competition. First, the referee needs the full cooperation and permission of the host or floor manager. Depending on the situation, a fighter can be disqualified from that competition, or disqualified for 3 years, or disqualified for 7 years, or even be banned permanently. First, both fighters are excused from the floor. The referee will now discuss the situation with the host, floor manager, and other referees. Then the offender is called back onto the floor alone. The referee will lift the arm, with the elbow bent and the index finger pointing 45 degrees upward, and say loudly Aka or Shiru, depending on which fighter is about to be disqualified. Then straighten the arm with the index finger pointing at the face of the fighter and then swinging the arm to the back, announcing loudly Shikaku.
白、四角、赤、四角。
Additional signals or gestures. Rolling fight. Torimasen.
Rolling fight. Torimasen.
Punch or kick missed. Torimasen.
Missed technique. Torimasen.
Too far or not close enough. Torimasen.
Too far. Torimasen.
Wasting time or refusing to engage.
Wasting time.
If the time runs out and both fighters are equal in points. Or if no one got a point. The fighter that got a warning for wasting time will be the loser. Menai. I did not see the point. Mostly done by the mirror referee.
Minai.
Illegal technique. By crossing the arms high in front of you. And then giving a atenai warning. Illegal techniques fall under atenai.
Aka. Illegal technique. Atenai. Shuru. Illegal technique. Atenai.
The second time the fighter is warned it will be atenai chui.
Aka. Illegal technique. Atenai. Chui. Shuru. Illegal technique. Atenai. Chui.
The third time the fighter is warned, it will be atenai hansoku chue.
Aka. Illegal technique. Atenai. Hansoku. Chui. Shuru. Illegal technique. Atenai. Hansoku. Chui.
After the third warning, the referee must disqualify the fighter. In the context of hard or excessive contact or any illegal action. The referee do not have to go through the sequence of atenai, atenai chue and atenai hansoku chue. But can jump straight to hansoku. Disqualification. What to do with injuries? If a fighter is injured, the medics must be called immediately. Only the medics can treat injuries or decide whether a fighter can continue or not. No medic will take a chance on allowing a fighter to continue, as this may lead to them being legally prosecuted. Faking an injury can end up with the fighter being told that he or she may no longer compete. No miraculous recovery is allowed. Once the medics arrive on the floor, all referees must step away. The medic will then approach the main referee to inform the referee of the decision. If the fighter can no longer continue or chose not to continue, the referee will call the other fighter onto the floor and announce no katsi.